93, 93, 93. This is the man I should renew from IshouldRenew.com. We back in here once again. Facial hair looking crazy right now. But now we're going to talk about don't get caught lacking, what it means to be in the end times before the new world order. Now, this is more so about, you can say, the drill culture, right? Like one of the most famous lines that comes from the drill culture is don't get caught lacking. Now, on the surface, this means, always have your gun on you. But let's break down the mathematics and see what that actually means. If we take it to supreme mathematics, gun, G-U-N, represents God, you now. God, you now. In other words, there is no God over you now. In the end times, going into the new world order, the only God that exists is you. And that's why more and more people are not religious or moving beyond religion because they see it as flawed. As we know, we are in a flawed world anyway. According to Gnosticism, this is a flawed universe. We came into a flawed world, material world. So for you to behave like a regular human being in a flawed world, basically trying to be, you could say, saved, trying to be a person of God, God-fearing, as they say. In this day of time, that may have worked before. That may have worked in the last age. But in the age we are in now and moving forward, that's no longer a factor. The only God that you're going to find is yourself. It don't matter how deep you look into yourself or outside of yourself. The only God you're going to find is you. You're not going to find no being pulling the strings for you or in your favor because you get on your knees and pray every night. There is no being that's going to favor you. Why? Because you are actually the divine. It has always been that way. It ain't just start yesterday. It ain't just start in this age. Religion has always been a veil to veil the secret. What is the secret? That the divine is you. There is nothing greater than you. So that means God will be a man or God will be a woman. Because the only thing we see here is men and women. You're either identifying as a man or a woman, regardless of your gender at this point, right? But you still identify as either a male or a female, a man or a woman, which is the two currents of the Kundalini. If we understand the Kundalini, there's two currents, right? There's a masculine current and a feminine current of the Kundalini, right? So that's why we don't have to pick and choose. One side is masculine, one side is feminine. So if there are two currents to the Kundalini, then you're just asking yourself, which side of the Kundalini do you represent? But the Kundalini takes us to the wisdom of the serpent. This is essentially what I'm getting at here. It takes us to the wisdom of the serpent. Because to even understand the Kundalini isn't just raising energy up through the chakras. The serpent wisdom represents the wisdom that is everlasting. Because if the wisdom has been here, you can say before Adam and Eve. Now let's just go by the story. The serpent was not created after Adam and Eve. The serpent was already in existence. So if the serpent was already in existence before the first man and before the first woman, whether we want to say it's Eve or Lilith, it all depends on what you believe. The serpent was already there. So that wisdom was already contained within the serpent before man was created, before mankind was created. So what is this serpent wisdom? That's everlasting, that predates the creation of mankind. And we find ourselves going closer and closer to the end times in which the serpentine force or the serpent wisdom becomes dominant. What do I mean by that? Because if we go back to Gnosticism, which is early Christianity, or the early, not early Christianity, the early Christians, the first Christians. The first Christians were Gnostics. They prayed to a serpent. They did not pray to a Jesus Christ. They did not pray to a Jesus Christ. Because the first Christ was actually Seth, if you do your history. Before we even knew the name of Jesus, they prayed to a Christ that was called Seth, which was the replacement for Abel. As we know, if we go back to the story of Cain and Abel, we know that Cain killed Abel. Then as a replacement, Abel was replaced by Seth, which became the first Christ on, you could say, the planet Earth, right? So you had Gnostics. And again, all Gnostics were not the same. Some Gnostics worshiped Seth, but others worshiped the serpent, the wisdom of the serpent, because the wisdom of the serpent was already there. So before we had the idea of Christianity, the wisdom of the serpent already was there, which is why they talk about it in a derogatory fashion. Again, whether we're talking about the Canaanites, whether we're talking about the Egyptians, all of the people that were demonized in the Bible, what is the common denominator? The common denominator is these people had wisdom of the serpent. These people were not believing in a one God, a monotheistic God. They did not believe in monotheism. That's why they had many gods and many goddesses. That represents all the various forms or forces of nature. So you can say, yes, there are many forms of nature, but they all are representative of one divine force. That would actually be true. So monotheism is not really what we think it is. There really is no difference between paganism and monotheism, because paganism just said there are many expressions of the one God. But you see, through politics, they got separated. So now we think it's us versus them, or pagans versus the monotheist, or the polytheist versus the monotheist, which that was never the case. We understood as alchemists, we understood as chemists, that nature has many expressions. And just because nature has many expressions, it does not mean that there is many gods and many goddesses. It is one God, you can say, but there are many expressions. Some of those expressions are masculine, other of those expressions are feminine. That's why we have feminine gods and masculine gods, but that does not mean that they all don't come from one source. But you see, through politics, now there is, everybody's against each other, right? Now we separate ourselves. Now it's hard for us to even think in these terms. Like, it's hard for people to even accept Gnosticism because of politics. Because religion has become political. That's why they had to separate religion from the church. That's just how political religion has gotten. The fact that they have to even push that agenda, we have to separate church from the state. Because religion began to have a stronghold over the people, to the point where the people began to get suppressed because everything became political. Even slavery was political. Slavery on these lands, also slavery on other lands. If you feel we came over here on slave ships, that was politics. That was not a mistake. That was not a secret operation. That was politics. That was political. There were laws passed. Even if you come to America, the Pope justified slavery, so that you know it was political. The church justified slavery like politics justified slavery. It all became political to confuse the people. So it's no wonder why the people are rebelling against religion in these times, in the so-called end times, because we know the history. Religion has been used against the people. Religion has been used against us. Politics has been used against us, and ain't shit changed. It's the same thing going on now. That's why, again, they hate the fuck out of Donald Trump. They hate the fuck out of MAGA. Because of politics or the big government, big pharma, whatever you want to call it, they do not have your best interests at heart. I've been reading all type of news articles. They're trying to kill off the people in terms of what do they call it? Medical assisted death. If you have been into current events, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're pushing this agenda of medical assisted death, meaning people that like have to live in hospitals because they're disabled or they have any type of problems. They basically ask you now, we can actually, euthanize your ass, euthanasia, right? If you don't want to be here no more, we can kill you. We'll put you down slowly, we'll put you down gently that you won't feel no pain, but if you don't want to be alive no more, we can send you off to the other world. And a lot of people are getting sent the fuck off because their doctors are recommending it. Like, damn, like somebody, let's just say you lost your hearing, you can't hear no more. The doctor will say, okay, well, if you don't want to live, we can induce your death. Let's just say you lost your legs, you're diabetic or something. Well, if you don't want to live no more, we can induce your death. They're going to begin to push this more and more and more and more. This will become the norm. Meaning you can essentially die when you want to now, instead of it being something that just happens on its own. Or if you push it, you can say. So this is why people don't trust religion, people don't trust the government, because all we gotta do is do the history and we see what they're doing now. We see what they did then, and we see what they're doing now. And it's like, there's no difference. It will never be a difference because they have the same agenda that they had back then, which is to control the people. They don't want us in power. That's why, again, most people are starving. Look at all these food shortages. People are fighting over food. I've been looking at all the news. People are fighting each other over food now. You would think we would never get to this position because the world is abundant. If the world is so abundant, why don't people have food to eat? People are barely being able to pay their fucking bills now. Energy bills are out of this crazy, out of this world. Gas prices continue to go up. Why does it seem like they're trying to hurt your pockets like never before? Why is the big government trying to hurt your pockets like never before? But the so-called radical president, the AKA Donald Trump, gas prices wasn't all over the place. He actually was giving you free money. Things were actually going pretty swell in terms of the economy. Soon as the government takes over, or the Democrats or Big Pharma takes over, now all of a sudden people's pockets are just getting drained like never before. Rent is going up. Everybody's paying thousands of dollars more per year than they were paying in these previous administrations. What are they really trying to do? Why are they trying to hit and starve your pockets and essentially starve out the people? And on top of all this, they're bringing in more and more people, more migrants. More and more migrants are coming either from Ukraine, from the border, Central America, they're coming from all over the world, basically. More and more migrants are coming from all over the world. I even read an article where the children are disappearing. What does that tell you about the sponsors? See, what they're doing is they have the migrant children coming in who are unaccompanied by parents. So there's a lot of children that come in that don't have parents. So they have to be given sponsors, U.S. sponsors. And I just read the article. Those children that have U.S. sponsors are just disappearing en masse to the point where they got to write an article about it. What do you think is going on with these children? These so-called sponsors are not treating these children right at all. But I've been spoke about the child God. We are in the age of a child God, the child God. I spoke about this on my website. We are in the age of the child God that we call Haru or Horus. This is why we see so much abuse of children. We have seen abuse of children like never before. We are in the age, children are being abused at a rate as never before. Again, just like that's why they pass laws, or they're trying to pass laws to the point where you can't even get an abortion. So like if you're a 14-year-old girl and you have a pregnancy that you didn't want because somebody took advantage of you, you can't even, get an abortion in some places. So the amount of suffrage that our children are facing is unfucking believable. from a critical thinking mind. It's like, why the fuck is this happening? Why are all these kids disappearing? Because they're with sponsors that take advantage of them, unfortunately. Just imagine that. Just imagine being a child, you got a sponsor, and you can't even take a fucking shower without somebody looking at you. They're trying to look at your body parts and shit. They try. I don't even. We don't have to go in that direction. We know what's going on. But just imagine the type of life they ain't trying to live like that. So they're wise though. You can say, Allah is with the children. I don't even want to say God. The real supreme being is with the children. Like, yo, get the fuck on. So children are rather will, they are, I'm saying this ridiculous. Let me start over. The children would rather be on their own and make a way for themselves than to have a U.S. sponsor. Because most of these sponsors are fucking gluttonous fucks. They don't know how to protect the children. Because if they did, the children would be fine. They would be able to get their education. They would be able to get their sponsorship, their green cards, and live normal civilized lives. But they can't even live a normal civilized life because you're dealing with fucking pigs, human feces that take advantage of the children, that don't even allow the children to be normal children. And that's what they came here to be. They came here to live a normal life, and they can't even live it because the sponsors. So what does that tell you about the system? Why are all these sponsors turning out to be child predators, basically? Because if they wasn't child predators, why would the children run away? You got a house to live in. You got food to eat every day. You got a school to go to. Why run away? Unless you are being mistreated. And if you're being mistreated, yet why stay? So because these are a different type of children, these are not the same children from, the last decade, the last century. This is a different type of child. This is a child, God, that's what I'm saying. And again, I'm just using God briefly. The child of law. I know that sounds weird. The child of meaning. The children are more advanced than they have ever been. And you know that if you have children, these children are more advanced than we were when we were like, I was not advanced. These children are doing all type of shit with technology. As you know, if you are a parent, you know. If you amongst children, you know, like these children are way more advanced. So they have to be, because look at the type of situation we are in. We are in the end times. We are going into the new world order, and the children are not having it. So what do? They have to formulate their own society, unfortunately. But this is just, the ugliness of the people are being revealed. That's basically what I'm saying. And this was not a mainstream story. That just goes to show you how they are still trying to protect these people. This story was not on the mainstream news. I'm not saying this because this was on Fox News or MSNBC or CNN and any of these mainstream outlets. I'm not hearing these stories from mainstream outlets because they want to protect you. Why? Like, they're not going to reveal that information. How these people are sick fucks. You can't even treat, but again, even in the book of the law, even in Thelema, you're supposed to treat children like royalty. Even in Thelema, even in 93, it's like, yo, dude, you're supposed to treat children like royalty because they are. Because they are. They are the best of us because their minds is not whacked out like these adults who you can't help. Let them die, honestly. Let these fucking stupid ass adults die off. I'm not saying be violent, but these people need to get the fuck on. Because our future depends on the children. If the children cannot be children, if they can't have their imagination vivid and expand, if they are forced to be adults before their times, this is when bad things happen. And again, all we gotta do is look around and see this to be a fact. Right? So that's why the new age or the new world order is being initiated way quicker. Like every day there's madness going on because the tension is ridiculous. The children are suffering in a ridiculous fashion. But this is initiating the new world order because the more and more this begins to happen, the less and less we trust in the government. And the less and less we trust in the government, the less and less we trust in religion. The less and less we trust religion, the less and less people are willing to be a part of society. the less and less people want to be doctors and lawyers and have good jobs. Now none of that package doesn't even suit us anymore. Why be a doctor and the doctors can't heal? Why be a lawyer when you got to defend criminals that's doing disgusting things to other people? Why be a doctor? Why be a lawyer? That's why many of our youth, they don't care to do that. That's why so many people want to be rappers. Because at least when you're a rapper, you can tell the fucking truth. You can't tell the truth when you're a doctor. You can't tell the truth when you're a lawyer. You can't tell the truth when you are a part of the system and you need to push a certain agenda. You literally have to lie to, you get paid to lie to the people. That's what you get paid to do. You get paid to lie to the people. At least as a fucking rapper, you can tell the truth. Even if it's about violence, death, and murder. At least you are telling the fucking truth about what's really going on. And you're not fabricating the truth with lies. Excuse me. So what do you think the children are going to do? Why trust the government more than you trust the streets? And the streets take care of you. They're not being taken care of by the government. They're being taken care of by the streets. Because that's where they got to go to. Because they can't even go to a home. Because they're being mistreated. So guess again, they're going to end up in the streets. And in the streets, you got to become an adult very quickly. That's go to the main point. Do not get caught lacking, right? So now if you're in the streets, now you got to protect yourself. Because now you're surrounded by predators. So the only way to defend yourself is what? Having a weapon. And you can, and again, you can speak about an actual gun. We're going back to the previous point. God, you now. Gun represents God, you now. Now you are your own God. So the children are coming into the realization that, damn, the only God I have is me. The only one that's going to protect me is me. I cannot put my trust in these adults because they are violating the trust. So we wonder why the children are just, they don't care about nothing nobody got to say. Now when they had to raise themselves, fuck what anybody got to say. Because they were not protected. So now they were forced to be adults before their time. And again, now they become savages. So that's why the music is so violent. A lot of these children, a lot of these rappers had to raise themselves because they did not have trustworthy people around them. So they had to come up in the streets. That's why they don't feel nothing when they sell drugs. Because it's like, fuck this world, fuck this system. I'm like, so why would you feel anything selling poison to the people when the people have already poisoned your mind to the point where you can't even trust people? So why would they feel any type of way? Why wouldn't they rap about death, murder, and violence when that's all they've been around? Because we have failed to protect them as a country, as a people, as anything. So again, that's why drill music or drill rap is the most dominant rap now. Why shouldn't it be? That's the truest reality you're going to ever get. That's why ain't nobody trying to hear no conscious ass music. That's why, yeah, you got the Kendrick Lamars, you got the J. Cole's, but are you really hearing about these people as much? How effective is Kendrick? Honestly, how effective is J. Cole? Honestly. Seems like Kendrick Lamar is pushing a Christian ideology. He's a Christian. J. Cole is whatever he is. So they're still pushing an agenda. So even this so-called conscious rap, it's like you're still pushing an agenda. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. That's not reality. You can't go to the fucking church. The church is full of predators. The church is not going to protect you. It's a bunch of fucking weirdos. These teachers are not going to protect you. It's a bunch of fucking weirdos. Look at all these agendas that they're trying to push on the children. Having our children confused as fuck. They don't know what they are. Look at all these agendas that they're pushing in these schools. We can't trust them. So that's why the New World Order is just like, yo, fuck all of this. That's why Tupac had the tattoo Thug Life on his stomach. The hate you gave little infants. Is that not the definition of Thug Life? The hate you gave little infants. Fuck everybody. Thug Life. Are they not living that out? Well, it's just me though, right? I'm the only one that's saying this. Are they not living out Thug Life? Do you think that's something that Tupac just invented because what he was going through, or was this a message to the world Was he just saying fuck the world because he just had a problem with the world? Or was he speaking on the behalf of an entire movement? Are the children really coming up any different than he did? Or are they experiencing the same trials and tribulations he did, as we all had to experience because of this system has failed us? And it ain't gonna get no better no time soon. You see what they spending money in Ukraine, they spending money in Taiwan, they spending money on all these so-called ideologies, on these vaccines. That's where all the money is going. The money is not going to the food problem. The money is not going to help you have a better life. It's actually making your life more hard, which pushes people in directions that they wouldn't want to go in. So the only thing that's going to protect you is what? Knowing that you are the God. God, you now. God, you now. So while somebody picks up their gun, you got to pick up your mind. The only God that exists is you. The only person that's going to get you out of this is you. No one is going to answer your prayers. No God is going to come down and give you the jewels. How do I know? I had to go through the same thing. The only reason I know what I know, I had to study. Nobody came down and revealed a book to me. This is the way you go. You don't go this way. It didn't happen like that, right? We had to raise ourselves. We had to teach ourselves. Everything that I know, I had to teach myself. That's why I consider myself self-educated. Everything that I know ain't because I went to school. I don't use any of that stuff. All I use is the basics. I know how to read. I know how to write. Other than that, everything else I had to learn on my own, like everybody else had to. That's just the way of the world now. That's the new world order. We have to create a world for ourselves. That's why Donald Trump is such a threat, because he represents the radicalization of the system. Fuck big government, fuck the society, fuck big pharma, because big pharma is the reason why we have an opioid problem. Why do you think so many people are dying from fentanyl and opiates? Because the government allows it, because they get paid from it. They could stop this issue tomorrow if they really wanted to, but they don't want to. Look, imagine how many kids are on drugs, addicted, because that's the only thing that gets them through their day. That's the only thing they have to look forward to. That's the only thing that's helping them survive. Not a God, pills, weed, ecstasy, psychedelics that they can get in, fentanyl. It's the only God they have. So you tell me if it's real or is it fake. Just look around you and you tell me if it's truth or is it false. And I'm going to move on to the next topic. I bear peace. 93, 93, 93.